ever sometimes just feel like a supervillain? Went to sit down and he was currently hanging out in my review spot. Now he's getting hair everywhere. So I picked him up. Now he's just sitting on my lap, waiting for world domination. I feel like Shane need one of these in Pacific Rim. Anyways, listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve. This is Baby Servo. You're almost a year old, buddy. Almost a year old. Hey, where you going? What do you want? You gonna say hi to the Rangers? You gonna say hi to the Rangers? You gonna say hello? Yeah? Yeah, look, you're on cameras. For all the world to see. You and your fluffy glory. You just put me down, please. Alright, you went down? Alright, go hang out with brother over there. And by brother, I mean the puggle. Anyways, I forget if I did the intro. So listen up, Rangers. Welcome to the Geek Chest. My name's Steve. I'm just getting over being sick. Not COVID sick, thankfully. Took a bunch of home tests. Came back negative. I just think I had a cold. I just had a bad cold, and it sucked for a few. It's still kind of here in my throat. But wanted to talk about Pacific Rim The Black Season 2. Finally got to sit down, being sick, watch the thing. I'm going to try to keep this spoiler-free for the most part if you guys haven't seen it. It has been out for a few weeks, so I probably could do spoilers. Maybe we'll do it at the end. I might talk about a couple things. But for the most part, for the review, I'm just going to keep it just my overall thoughts. Because I really enjoyed the first season. That was cool, like the Jaegers, like the brother and sister dynamic that they had going. The characters are fairly interesting, and surprisingly, the action was fairly good, especially for it being a CG anime, which usually is kind of... I get very hesitant about those, but this one was really solid. And for Season 2, I'm glad to see that the quality for the CG held up, and to be honest, I really liked actually some like... it's hard to say because it's not like the facial animations, but just the way that the characters were expressing themselves, I thought was very good and helped to convey the emotions that they were going through. The environments very well done. Would have maybe liked to see a little bit more variety, because one thing I will say as a negative is that this being the second part to the series and the final part to the series, it goes by really quick. And that's probably my biggest gripe with this entire season is the pacing is so fast that a lot of elements I feel like they were maybe going to try to flesh out in some other seasons or something, and then the show Netflix just was like, you get one more and you like it. So they kind of cut a lot of things off the head very quickly. So a lot of stuff that happens in the first season, they bring up, but I feel like the way that it ends, it almost kind of just sweeps a lot of stuff under the rug. Be like, hey, we had this huge thing going on with Shane and what's her name? I can't quite remember off the top of my head. May, that's who it was. There's their whole dynamic and the way that the season ended. It's kind of, I don't know. It just feels like we just lost track of what was going on with that one, with the course of season 2, and then just certain things happen in the series that you were expecting maybe to happen eventually, but it happens and then other stuff happens and you're just moving on with it. And you don't really get enough time to really get emotionally invested in anything that's really going on with the second season, if I'm going to be honest. Then, there's not really that much action. At least I didn't think there was anyways. Like, you see the Jaegers walking around, it gets into some conflicts. I think the biggest fight in the entire series is, in season 2 anyways, is... I can't even get into it right now, but there's like one main fight that sticks into my head. And again, there's like other characters that you're like, man, this is cool and I want to see more stuff happen with them throughout the next seasons. They show up one time in the second season, that's it. You're not going to see them again. When we talk about this more, I'm really starting to think I just really didn't like the second season. But I want to. Because I like the characters overall. It's just, I feel like a lot of what was happening with it is more behind the scenes than the actual story was going to be. Because the first season, like introduces a lot of stuff and gets you really excited, especially with the way it teases the end with the sisters and Boy being like the Kaiju Jesus, the Messiah. And then you still have like the whole Shane thing, like what was the back and forth going to be with that, and then it kind of just sort of happens in the case, like you get everything that they built up that was like, okay, this might be like a long slog, gets kind of wrapped up in the course of 7 episodes, plus we still had to introduce some new stuff. It almost reminds me of Lord of the Rings in a way, because like the majority of the second season is them just walking. It's a lot of walking. And then some stuff happens. And then the final part was just confusing as all heck. You know what? To be honest, I'm just going to be real with you guys. If you like Pacific Rim, you'll probably find some enjoyment in it. As I watched it and I was like, yeah, this is fine. But I wasn't nearly as excited when I got done watching season 2 nearly as much as I was season 1. And I don't know if a lot of that just is, like, I know this is over with, so we're not going to really be getting anything, at least continuing on with this story. Like, maybe they'll do some more stuff eventually, but with the way Netflix is currently, probably not. So, in the end, I'd say it's a little bit of a letdown. Actually, it's quite a bit of a letdown. Because other than, I really like the production quality in it. It's really about it. Because there wasn't really anything new that was introduced that really got me that excited. And even the climax, like we've seen it before. We've seen it in Pacific Rim before. So, overall, I'd say it was a bit of a fail. But if you watched first season, you enjoyed it a lot. I still would recommend checking out the second season just to finish off the story. But for the most part, I feel you pretty much got the majority of the bang in your buck with watching the first half of the series. Definitely falls a bit flat. Kind of reminds me a lot of, I don't know if you've ever seen the Rurouni Kenshin series, where the manga wasn't done, so they did a season 3, and it's not even close to the same quality and storytelling being as good as it was in the first season. A lot of that was just, again, more behind the scenes stuff causing issues more than the actual story would have been. It's kind of odd, especially doing these reviews where you start like talking out and fleshing out, because when I was going into this, I was like, yeah, overall I think it was positive. And then once the words started coming out of my mouth, I just started slowly realizing this is more like Pacific Rim Uprising than the actual Pacific Rim, which I still don't even mind Pacific Rim Uprising. To be honest, it's probably better than the second season of this for the most part, if I'm going to be brutally honest. At least they did different stuff. So, yeah, for some spoiler stuff, spoilers. The thing, like, I hate what they did to Shane. They did my man dirty. Because especially, like, at the end of the season, he blows off the guy's head, and she's all anti-Shane. And then it's just like, hey, I could save your mom. And then just sacrifices himself. So he can kind of look better to May, and then she has the floppy disk, which we don't know what's going to even be doing with that, because there's not going to be a third season. So there's no real fulfillment for that whole storyline. And then they find their parent, or they find their mom first, because of course it's one of the sisters. Surprise, surprise. And then did her dirty, because she's like, goes from being hurt to dead. And again, no, like, I had to rewatch it, and I was like, did I miss something? I know she was hurt, but then they were, like, they got to meet the family, but then she was in the drift, and she died. So that, I felt like again, I didn't get enough, there wasn't enough time for me to get emotionally invested, and then just the execution, while it was nice for the character, it wasn't really nice for me. And then the climax just ends with them exploding. So, yay! Seems like we can never have nice things, like the Jaegers can never just win. They always gotta somehow blow themselves up in the process of doing anything in this series. And then somehow it survives. And I like how it was like a bigger category, like it was a category 6, so it was better good than Slattern. But Slattern survived a Jaeger exploding, so how did that survive? Then some of the Jaeger was still intact, like actually a decent chunk. And then again, the best fight we got in the entire season is the Jaeger's fighting boy. And then we get Alpha, is that the mech's name? He gets to show back up, super sweet, because I really like that dude. And then he just laser eyes it and gets punched in the face repeatedly, and then laser eyes again and dies. There's just so much stuff that happened. This was like frustrating to me, and I really wanted to like it because again, like I loved the first season. It was out of the kaiju stuff, easily my favorite of the anime stuff. But then, oh man, we just kind of derailed towards the end there, didn't we? But anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys thought of Pacific Rim: The Black. What you guys thought of it overall? Because again, just to kind of reiterate, overall I think the series is fine, but it definitely peaked after towards the end of that first season, and then just towards the end there. Because even they show off the Jaegers and they shoot the missiles, and I was like, oh cool, maybe we'll have a fight. And no, no, we didn't. And help us defeat those kaijus by hitting the like button, subscribe, become a ranger today. We also got Instagram, Patreon, Pinterest, and Facebook. If you guys like keep up with the day with channel donate, we greatly appreciate it. Also forgot to mention that Arnaz wasn't here because he's going to be on his honeymoon, so they're getting ready for that. So it's just going to be me for a little bit. But anyways, see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.